Hi, everybody. This is for Thursday this week. I think we're ending the month of April now. Can you believe we only have 3 weeks left of school after this week? So this is going to be kind of an informational video. I'm going to have two different attachments that I'm going to be putting in Google Classroom that I'm going to be going through on the screen with you about how Lit Circles are going to work for the rest of this quarter. We're already kind of running out of time, so it's going to be a kind of busy time to fit this in. So it is going to be about 2 days each week of our 4 days of activities that we're going to spend on our last novel, a separate piece. So each week you will have a short Google Meet that you will have to conduct with a group of usually 4 people. And then you'll have the roll sheets that will be your individual grade that you will submit to me. We'll probably have one other instructional video that I'll make like this, where I'm going to talk through those chapters of the book with you to give you some important information about the background, the symbolism, the literary elements. And then there'll probably be some sort of assessment over the book at the end that will draw from some of those videos, and maybe a few extra Google Meets that you can drop in. That would be optional if you feel you're confused with the book and you want additional explanation or discussion. So the other 2-ish days that we have instruction each week will be devoted to a sci-fi story each week. So maybe 3 more texts. It won't be overly busy just because of our online format. So remember, we are doing instruction Monday through Thursday, which is just 4 days. And if 2 of them are Lit Circle days, one of them being the group meeting plus the materials that I'm going to allot as 1 day of work, and then one being maybe a lecture that I filmed that you watch for an assessment, then the other 2 days that make up the 4 will be some sort of sci-fi focus. So we're down to 3 weeks. So let me run through a couple of things. If you look at your screen, and I'll attach these also in Google Classroom, that you can pull back up at any time under a Lit Circle tab that I'm going to make in the classwork area. You are going to have slight changes from doing this in person, obviously, but the graded materials will be basically the same. So the first thing on here, number 1, is I'm going to show you in just a minute a digital document where you can see all your group members, and it lists your job. It's very similar to the single page handout that you got each quarter that we did Lit Circles, but I've just typed all those groups in boxes and labeled the teams 1 through 7, depending on the size of your class. Some classes only had 5 teams if you had less students. And then it will tell you your jobs, the number of chapters to read, the date that you have to have met with your team. So you kind of get an idea of what you're doing. The due dates will be Fridays on May 8th, 15th, and 22nd. So the 22nd is only like the Friday before the last week of school, which is only a partial week. So it's pretty much going to be your last grade of the quarter. The roll sheets are the same digital roll sheets for Summarizer, Highlighter, Connector, and WordMaster that you've done before. And you will be able to see in just a minute what one of those documents of the group assignments will look like. So I'm just going to pull up one for one of my class periods. It may not be the one that you're in. You're going to see that there's a document that's going to look like this in your specific class period of assignments for Lit Circles. And if you look at the charts, this is very similar, what I'm marking right here, to what you used to get a handout that was an individual page of your jobs. And now I've just kind of put all the groups into one document that goes on for a couple pages. Your teams, kind of like team 1, team 2, I have all the way up to team 7. And then the names of the group members are listed. And then across the top right here, it tells you 2 things that you really need to pay attention to. What is the deadline for when I have to turn in my personal roll sheets, and what chapters is it supposed to cover? Now, since everyone is reading the same book, it's a separate piece by John Knowles. The chapter increments will be the same for all the groups in all my class periods. So the very first week, which is by next Friday, you have to have discussed and done your materials over chapters 1 through 5. Again, we're dividing the book up into about thirds. The following Friday, which is May 15th, you have to have met in your discussion and turned in your roll sheets individually for chapters 6 through 9. The following, which is the last probably grade of the quarter, would be the 22nd of May, and it will cover chapters 10 through 13. So again, your individual 3 roles are listed. If you don't have anyone's name attached here in the last 5th box, it means your team only has 4 people. I only have to use a 5th person if your class has like 29 students, and I have to add a 5th person to a class because 7 groups of 4 would be 28. So not everyone's going to have a 5th group member. So if it's blank right here, it means nobody's doing those second jobs that are listed again. So most groups are of 4 people. And so you can look, if you don't see your name in the first group, you need to scroll all the way through the document, which goes onto the second page, till you find your name, because some of the classes have 7 groups. And so make sure that you find your name somewhere. You'll see you have either 4, like this group has 5 people, just like we've had some groups of 5 in person as well. So each class period has a document like this that has your class's name in it. Please find your name as soon as possible and let me know if somehow you see an error where I accidentally left your name off a group, so I can fix that immediately. I've double checked, but there's always a chance I could have made a mistake. So let's go back to the directions. So we already looked at number 1. There's that digital document I just showed you where you're going to see your group members and the 3 jobs that you are responsible for starting the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd of May. The individual role sheets, number 2, are attached, and they will be under the lit circle area, and you'll just fill out the one that you need like you've done before and only turn that one in and disregard the others. So if you're doing highlighter, obviously that's the only one you need for that week. Now there is one slight change, which is the word master job, number 3. Obviously, a lot of our games that people were creating would have to be done in person. But since we're not in person, it's not going to make sense to do a matching game in the same way where you bring in cards that you've made up or a twister mat or a basketball game, because we are not able to play those games in person. So because of that, I'm making some changes slightly to the word master job options, but it needs to be something digitally or in a Google Meet that you could do live by just seeing each other. So it's going to be a little bit more creative, and you will have to explain what the game was at the end of the word master sheet and explain it to me. I am opening up some digital games that were previously restricted, like making up a crossword puzzle or playing a Kahoot, or you could still do a Quizlet or something like that. You could also do some sort of, like an oral quiz. I don't really care what you do, but it's going to be a little bit harder because you're not in person. So you might want to look up like digital, games or quizzes. You can make up a digital quiz. You could even make up a Google form quiz and send it to your team and have them take it and just teach them the words and then have them open the link and take the quiz, and it scores them. And it wouldn't go in the grade book as a grade, but you would just be helping them review those words as like the teacher for those few minutes. So it's up to you. But again, as the word master, you will have to make a game or an activity. I wouldn't say it has to be a game, some kind of activity that can be done in the virtual world or through Google Meet and does not need tangible physical pieces. So that's going to be a little different. The other thing that's going to be different is number 4, how you're going to meet and when you're going to meet. I would still expect that your team is going to have a live discussion over this book. So if you have a team of 4, then you have to meet sometime on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday of each week, and you have to set up a 30-minute Google Meet and all try to join in during a convenient time on your own when you are going to be discussing this book and those chapters. Each person will share a portion of their role sheets like you always do, but it's not going to be as highly structured as the ones we did in class where I set a timer and summarizer has to go first, followed by highlighter, then connector, then vocab. If you want to do it in that order, that's fine because you're used to it. In this scenario, if somebody does not show up to the Google Meet, you will simply report it to me, and I'll talk about how to do that in just a minute. But again, you will simply continue without them, and there won't be a substitute for their job or things like that. I'm trying to also make it a little bit shorter. So I'm thinking of maybe a 30-minute discussion, whereas in class, we often did this for like 50 minutes or so. So I think 30 minutes is doable in a Google Meet if all 4 of you get in and decide who's going to talk first and ask each other questions or pull up your discussion questions. And obviously, I would still suggest you share your Google Docs with your team members so that they can actually look at them as well as be in the Google Meet. What you will also need to do is email me the Google Meet code and your meeting time by Tuesday night at 8 p.m. for every group. And so the summarizer will be the one in charge of doing that each week. And if you have a group of 5 people, there might be 2 summarizers on the first week. And I think that's the only time. If you are in a group of 5 this first week, those 2 people can decide if one of you wants to just kind of spearhead that and be in charge of it, or if you want to discuss it together and kind of do it together. But I need the summarizer to set up the group meet each week. And that means you would send an email to your team asking, is there a convenient time or times or bad times when you can't meet that we could set up this Google Meet for 30 minutes and try to get your group to tell you when a convenient time is. It would probably be easiest, I would think, if your group decides to meet at the same day and time each of the 3 weeks and just kind of decide on that the first week and then decide, okay, 4 p.m. or 3 p.m. every Thursday is great for everybody. We're going to do that every one of these 3 weeks. Then the summarizer of that week is going to need to go to Google Meet and set up the Google Meet and send the code to get into it through your email. Now, if you need help doing that, I'll probably send out a secondary set of directions for summarizers to look at. But basically, you go to googlemeet.com and then you make up a session. It says name your session. You can just put lit circles and then you click join, and then it gives you like a code, and you can copy the code and paste it in an email and send it to your team. And whenever they click on the code, it will take them to the session, and everyone just needs to make sure they show up at the right time. So you will need to send me a copy of that email that has the session code, the day and the time that you are going to meet. I'll be writing down a ledger by day and time of when all the groups are meeting. I don't know if I'll be able to make all of them. Probably not. There might be some that are overlapping, but I'll try to pop in as I can, and I won't be able to stay 30 minutes in every single meeting for 21 meetings a week. But I will pop in and out just to see if who's there, say hi, ask if you have any questions, listen to for a few minutes. I may not even say anything. I just might be observing like I do in class. So that's sort of the extra role the summarizer is going to have each week is help organize the Google Meet, figure out the day and time for 30 minutes that your group wants to meet on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday of each week, and then set it up in Google Meet and send out the code to your team so that they have the code to access the live session. Number 6, the summarizer will also need to email me after the meeting, a kind of like an update that you did complete the meeting and the name or names of anyone who did not show up, and just so I have an attendance record. If you are turned in that you do not show up to the Google Meet, I will mark you absent for that day. So make sure that for your attendance credit that you do the Google Meet and let your team know of times that when you absolutely cannot be there because of conflicts. Again, the goal is 20 to 30 minutes, not as strict a discussion format as we've had before, so you can kind of try to make it as applicable and meaningful to you to discuss the book as much as you want to. But I will still be grading highlighter, summarizer, connector, and Wordmaster roll sheets in their completion and thoroughness of how they are done, as well as accuracy of theme statements, accuracy of your summaries. So those are still 30-point unassisted grades that will be graded individually. If you don't get through everybody's roll sheets or you skip sections of them, that's okay. But I will be grading all sections of them for individual grades like I always have for accuracy as well as thoroughness. And again, remember, there is going to be either some sort of a quiz or assessment or towards the end of the book, some sort of thematic PEA graphic organizer or something like that, where you're going to have to analyze this book. So you are going to have to be aware and know what's going on. And I will have one day a week in addition to the lit circles where I do a lecture discussion over those chapters to pull out important points to help clarify things if you're confused. It is a challenging book. It is an AP book. Not all the pre-AP classes are doing it because of the end of the year changes we've had to our schedule, but I do think it warrants using. I love this book. I'm very familiar with it and have taught it many years. So I will know if you haven't read the book because I'm very familiar with it. So if specific issues come up, please email me. We may have to tweak some things if groups are saying that there's a lot of technical issues or glitches. I've not done it in this format before, so we're all learning together, but hopefully it's going to be fun. So again, just as a recap, Lit Circles start next week. The deadline for all the materials and the meeting is Friday. So Friday, May 8th, which is next Friday, you need to have already met with your group by the end of Friday and have told me that you've met and had your summarizer report attendance or report anybody absent to me. And you also have to turn in your individual roll sheet and submit it in Google Classroom under the Friday date. So again, you will have these things due weekly for the next 3 weeks. And then probably the day before, like Thursday, will probably be the lecture that I'll have either Wednesday or Thursday. I'll have the lecture notes in video for you to watch to help clarify anything about the book. And if you have a preference, like if you prefer that I put the lecture about the book earlier in the week, please email me. I don't know how that would work for you as a student. Would you prefer to have it earlier in the week where it might give you spoilers if you haven't read, or would you rather not have the video to have to watch until like Thursday and then your group meeting might be Friday? So if you have a preference of which day I put the explanatory information about Separate Peace in as a curriculum material, just let me know because I'm pretty flexible. So that's Lit Circles that are coming up next week. Now, the link for this book, A Separate Peace by John Knowles, has been put in Google Classroom a couple times. I attached it to this week's work. I'll attach it in the Lit Circle area also, and it's a PDF that's free. If you do not like reading a digital book on your computer that's a PDF, then you will need to purchase your own paperback copy because the library of our school obviously is not able to check out books to us at this time like we normally would. So it is readily available on Amazon to have shipped to you or at Barnes & Noble. So again, if you want a physical copy of it, that is something you'll have to plan for. You may want to order it or go purchase it soon. And you should be reading right now. Again, I'm trying to make maybe a chapter a day, 4 to 5 days a week, be part of your daily work because it is going to be reading that needs to be done and is required. So I'm trying to back off on how many other stories we're doing, like maybe only one other short story a week, so that your focus is actually trying to read this book and do the Lit Circles and discussion. So that is a main component of how we're going to end the year as we wrap up PEA, analysis writing, and going back to theme, which I will tie back to this text. So that is what we're starting to do the next few weeks, besides wrapping up a few sci-fi stories, not as many as I'd hoped to do with our modified 4-day-a-week curriculum. And then just, of course, things taking a little longer and a different twist with having to do everything digitally. But I still think it's going to be a great book that most of you will really enjoy that has lots of literary merit. Let me know if you have questions. And again, what we're going to do for our attendance discussion post, which will be for tomorrow, for Thursday, the last day of attendance for this week, is you need to post a question or comment about chapter 1 of A Separate Peace. And so you were supposed to have read that yesterday. So if you haven't read it yet, that is your Thursday assignment, is to read chapter 1, read past chapter 1 if you've already read some, because you have to be through chapter 5 before you can do your Lit Circle materials for next week. Reading ahead, as usual, is always advantageous with these Lit Circle books, as you probably have learned by now. So the post for attendance for Thursday is to post one question or comment about chapter 1 of A Separate Peace. So let me know if you think of any other questions or comments that come up as you're getting ready to start Lit Circles next week, and you should be starting to read to get ready to do that. And have a great weekend. We'll have an optional Google Meet on Friday at 1. So if you want to join me live, we can talk about the book. We can talk about the first chapter. We can talk about Lit Circle questions you have if you still don't understand how this is going to work. And I will be online at 1, and I'll send out the code for that. So have a great night.